Well, the UN delegation has again recommended the Great Barrier Reef be added to the World Heritage in Danger list. It cites frequent mass bleachings and increased water acidity as among the increased threats to corals. Joining us live is Tony Fonts, a veteran Great Barrier Reef dive operator. Tony, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Before we get to this UN recommendation, I'm keen to hear your personal experience on this. As someone who dives on the reef regularly, what are you seeing with your own eyes in terms of how the reef is coping and how has that changed over time?
Well, I've been diving on the reef for just over 40 years, and I've seen the very best. And unfortunately, more recently, I've seen the very worst. The changes that are most easily noticeable have been the mass bleaching events that have occurred over the last 6 years, because you have a nice, beautiful dive site that's vibrant and colorful, and a serious bleaching event hits it, it eventually dies and becomes just dead and brown. You move dive sites. The Great Barrier Reef is huge, so there's still plenty of wonderful diving out there. But as climate change progresses, the opportunity to find new sites will decrease.
And how rapidly is the broader ecosystem changing, the sea life? How are they coping? Is that noticeable to you?
Not as much as, say, the corals. Certainly the scientists would have more to say than myself. But the corals, of course, form the foundation of all life out there. They're like the big buildings in a city, and everything that lives in the city depends on the structures, the buildings, and so on. So as we lose coral reef, then of course we lose all the life that goes with it, such as the fish and the turtles and all that. So where I've found reefs that have completely died off, which is a little bit unusual, but they're out there, they're pretty much desolate deserts.
So what would that actually mean if this is added to the UN's in danger list? In terms of practical changes for the reef, what's your understanding of what that would mean for the reef, and also what it could mean for tourism and businesses like yours?
Well, the UN report has suggested it be put in the in danger listing. That, of course, is something that the World Heritage Committee will have to consider, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. And obviously that may not be the best thing for tourism. However, there are some good studies out there that show other World Heritage properties that have lost their, or that have gone into the endangered listing, have not seen a significant drop in tourism. The benefits that come along with an endangered listing, of course, would be the world attention that we get on the reef, and hopefully it spurs the government to do more, because the UN report is very explicit as to what needs to be done to bring the reef back.
And so has reef tourism changed a lot over your time in terms of the way the reef is respected and treated by businesses like you who take tourists out there to have a look?
Absolutely. You could almost refer to the old days as the bad old days. We were all a bunch of cowboys. And as far as looking after the reef, that was very secondary. But over the years, the tourism industry has matured and recognized that their livelihood is dependent on the reef. And by far and away, most tourism operators not only work hard to minimize their impact on the reef, but they actually work hard to make the reef a better place. And a lot of them have citizen science programs that involve both staff and guests on the boat to make the reef a better spot than when they arrived. And that can only be a good thing. And we need that more than ever.
Oh, good to hear that. I think we're all breathing a sigh of relief on that one, Tony. Just finally, more broadly, how is business going for you in those parts? We know that a lot of businesses really struggled through the pandemic. Have things recovered now? Are you back on track? Are you getting the same sort of levels of tourists that we saw pre-pandemic?
Absolutely. It's been an amazing turnaround since, well, not that COVID's over, it's long as being over, but basically from when rules were relaxed and travel started up again, the numbers in the Whitsundays have exceeded, get this, all numbers previous to COVID. We've set records for a number of people coming in the Whitsundays. And that's primarily domestic tourism, and international tourism has always been an important part of the Whitsundays, but that's going to be a few years before it bounces back. So I can only say the tourism industry at this point in time is doing well. Getting staff is a bit of a trick, but the tourism industry is doing well.
That is a good positive note to end on. Tony Fonts, really appreciate you bringing us those insights from the Whitsundays. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Pleasure. Thank you.